Chico's gonna give you what? Rev is gonna give you what? Ben is gonna give you what? All three are gonna give you the Big D. Chico's gonna give you what? Rev is gonna give you what? Ben is gonna give you what? All three are gonna give you the Big D. Chico, Rev, and Ben, yep, they're at it again. Breaking down the team, putting stats up in your head. Nothing left unsaid, they're leaving it all on the field. Just like the favorite team, raising two cups and with shield. The knowledge is a real for a trio so true to representing the gray, red, white, and blue. And you love them too, that you can't deny. So just one time, let me hear Dallas till I die. Chico's gonna give you what? Rev is gonna give you what? Ben is gonna give you what? All three are gonna give you the Big D. Chico's gonna give you what? Rev is gonna give you what? Ben is gonna give you what? All three are gonna give you the Big D. Soccer podcast? Huh.
It's Big D After Dark on this Labor Day, celebrating our unions and our workers. Go get registered to vote. Go vote. Vote for fair wages and days off for everyone. But we have bad news to discuss tonight on Big D After Dark as we dissect FC Dallas's disappointing road loss to Real Salt Lake, a 3-2 result with 2 goals chipped in by Franco, Jara, and Jesus Ferreira on the road for Dallas. But the defense, once again, was disappointing. Is the playoff push over? What can FC Dallas do to pick themselves up? We'll discuss and get into a little United States men's national team talk as we take your questions and comments live here on Big D After Dark. Enjoy. All right, I'm feeling it tonight to talk about FC Dallas here with my buddies here, Ben and Jose.
What's up?
It's good to have you all with us as you join us here on Facebook or on YouTube, and we want your comments and questions. They show up. I can respond to them, include them in the show. You can shape the conversation, and we can have a lot of fun as we talk about FC Dallas, United States men's national team drama, and maybe even a little North Texas soccer club. So it's great to have you here with us this evening. Let's get right into it. But first, again, let me introduce my compatriots for conversation here. Of course, I'm Nathan Hill at Nathan J. Hill. You can follow me there on Twitter. There in the middle is our buddy Ben Lyon at Bird Turgler. Ben, say something positive.
Something positive.
Great. And there on
the D in Big D soccer stands for doomed.
and you could have said doo-doo. Okay, but anyway, all right. There on the end is our buddy Jose Carmona at El Chico Carmona. You have something positive for us, Jose?
I had the day off. That's about it. That's as positive as I get.
Good, a day off. That is positive.
There's one of our workers. Hey, I had the day off too. Let's hear it for the workers today.
Yeah.
Yay.
Yeah. Well, let's get right into our disappointing loss with FC Dallas talk here. Disappointing loss for FC Dallas. They traveled to Real Salt Lake. Oh, and we got some extracurricular activity going on there, Jose.
This is my other cat. It's Aria.
All right. Well,
she is very chatty and is about to kill my webcam.
Well, hey, that's all right. And definitely has an opinion there, but FC Dallas is awful
she's not
performance.
Happy and she's going to tell me all about it.
Well, let's get right into this FC Dallas performance against Real Salt Lake. On the positive side, which has been kind of a struggle for this team, they scored 2 goals on the road. And one of Ben's least favorite players, Franco Jara, got a kind of a poacher's kind of effort goal. And Jesus Ferreira had just a tremendous effort on his goal. But it wasn't enough as Real Salt Lake managed 3 goals past a Dallas defense that's still very much a work in progress. So what's your takeaways from this game? Is there something positive to take away, or is it just negative? Is it just disappointing? Jose, we'll start with you tonight.
Well, it's a disappointment because there was at least a point to be had on the road there, and seeing, you know, 2 goals go in that could have possibly been saved or stopped, you know, off those rebounds. It just hurts, you know. It especially when you get off to a 1-0 start with Jara scoring, which you never see, and you're like, oh my God, we've got a chance. And the team played well in the first half, and then they just couldn't. They just, you know, the defense let us down. I mean, that right side with Tafari and Tuamasi, I mean, it was just the wrong week for them to struggle, you know. So, and also I'm not blaming it on them because, you know, Cirillo and Cervania, who looked really good before, also struggled, and that was just a bad combination, you know. And you don't have you had our backup goalkeeper there, and he just wasn't enough to snuff. So,
Well, I mean, he had 9 saves. I mean,
well,
you know?
yes, he did have 9 saves. I mean, you got to give him that, but still, you have to believe that the 2 of the goals that got past him could have been prevented, and I don't know. I don't want to blame it on him. I think it was overall we saw, you know, O'Brien struggle. That's not shocking. And
O'Brien had an assist.
Jara after that goal did little else. So, yeah. I mean, I think we all have to be pretty disappointed with the result because clearly we all thought we could have walked out of there with at least a point.
Yeah, typically you score a couple of goals on the road. That's a good scenario for a point at least, but not to be. I mean, Ben, how would you rate this team? What would you take away from this match?
Well, I took away from this match what, my philosophy for any game like this where Jara starts, I just skip it. I had the game thread up, and it was like when I saw he scored, I was like, well, okay, I'm guessing it was a kind of a lucky goal, and they'll fall apart, and that's what happened. I mean,
Ben's like false hope.
I mean that was his first open play goal in any of his starts this year, and I mean, like I wasn't taking the bait. I couldn't do it. Because I mean, like I knew it would just lead to heartbreak, and you know what? I mean, it makes sense that the team gradually dwindled after that. Because Franco Jara is a 20-minute player. That's the best you can do. And so starting him in Salt Lake was a huge mistake, and basically giving away 2 points to start the game. So, that's my takeaway on the game. I'm glad I missed it. I hope he didn't start this weekend, but I mean it wouldn't matter anyway because I'm going to the OU game. All
right. Okay. Well, I mean, how would you all rate Felipe? We've seen him now 2 games in a row. We know his loan was extended. He's a young prospect. He has had some buzz about him, but. Yeah, I mean, he looks the part, I guess, as much as we can say. Made some saves, but also, couldn't parry the ball away enough out of danger and left the team open to those rebounds. It's tough, right? It's tough. It's tough it feels harsh to rate the guy like, hey, he's not going to work out when he was thrust into this situation. But we don't know how much longer this is gonna, unfold, right? How much longer will the team need Felipe?
Well, I mean, he's done what you want from a backup. I mean, he's looked solid. He's looked competent, and I mean, he shows flashes. I mean, like Ben said, 9 saves is nothing to laugh at. So yeah, he shows that potential. The question is he worth the rumored $2 million buyout? I don't think I've seen that.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, yeah, excellent prospect, and if they can get him on a free or half of what they're asking for, yeah, I mean he's a player that you definitely could keep in Dallas for several years as a backup with and future starter. So I like what I've seen from him. It's what you'd expect from a player who's not getting a lot of playing time.
Well, and by the way, for folks joining us, please send in your comments, your questions. Help us shape the conversation. What did you see? What did you take away from that disappointing loss at RSL? One of the questions is obviously this one damages playoff hopes for FC Dallas. It's one of those kind of 6-pointer type games, they say, but there's still always something to play for, and there's still plenty of room to make up some stand, and we can suspect that RSL is going to struggle at some point down the stretch. I mean, they don't have a head coach; they have an interim right now. And FC Dallas had a chance, even late, to maybe get something going or get that tie goal, but hey, it didn't work out. What are your guts right now? What do you after this loss at RSL? Ben, is FC Dallas a playoff team?
Oh gosh, I mean, if they don't win this weekend, no, they're not. I didn't watch the game. I did watch the highlights though, and Jesus Ferreira is a baller. I mean, he has had a comeback season after, a definite sophomore slump last year. So I mean, he might be able to carry him over the hump this weekend. That would be pretty big deal. I mean, like I don't see a way for them to make the playoffs if they don't take, the full 3 against San Jose. There are just too many people ahead of them, and that's one of them. You beat San Jose this weekend, and then you leapfrog them, and now you're talking. Now you've got to bring back in a couple teams instead of 3, or bring back in 3 teams instead of 4. So starting to run out of time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, if they can get a result, maybe not necessarily 3, but you don't want to lose. You don't want to lose. You want to stay near the playoff line, and points are a must. And I think we have to be excited that Jesus looks to be in form. I mean, Jesus is tearing it up, and you have to wonder if that's the key. Getting Jesus in form. Hopefully, Pepi returns and doesn't lose any form, which is the big concern. Because if you have Jesus and Pepi both in form, the points will come. The concern for me is the wings. I mean, I know Ben and everyone else is, are down on Jara and stuff, but I mean, our wings completely disappeared against RSL. We got very little from O'Brien or from Paxton,
that's because they're playing with Jara.
It's probably not 100%, but I mean, O'Brien touched the ball like 22 times the entire match, and that's like Llama disappearing act right there, and you can't have that. You can't have that from your wings. So Chewy did the best he could to carry team over the line, but that's where you lose, where you miss someone like Pepi. Comes in and takes the pressure off the wings, and they can operate because the defense is focusing on the hot hand.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think I'm with you. I don't, there's an aspect of this that you maybe in another season you just say, hey, we lost away. It was a closer game. We made something of it. We can take positives and go on. But the margins are razor thin right now, and so the team has to go in every game at this point trying to get points somehow, whatever way they can. I mean, let's just talk about this defense a little bit. Beginning of the season, it was the offense that wasn't clicking. Of course, bring in Pepi. Jesus gets going, gets healthy, gets going. Shun gets going, Paxson resurges, we have something. We can talk about Obrian later at some other point. I'm just not sold. I'm still not seeing a whole lot from him, other than a nice bench player, a nice roster piece. But what's up with this defense? This defense was supposed to be the one thing that you had Brisson returning, you had Hedges, and Ryan Hollingshead was great. But of course, right back was a bit of a toss up. But we've seen a few guys there. Just what's up with this defense? And I guess the easiest answer is injuries, right? We just have not been able to see a consistent, healthy back line get into rhythm. And nor have we always seen a consistent midfield kind of there to help them out and build rapport with them. Is that okay to say? Is that what Ben, Jose, would you agree with me?
I agree. I mean, and let's face it, Tuamasi and Tafari struggled in this match, and that has to do with simply teams getting more tape on them, game planning more for them. That's where you're gonna have some teams that are gonna be able to find little things, and let's face it, they're not gonna come at Hedges and Hollingshead. They're gonna come at Tuamasi and Tafari, and RSL did a good job there this time, and you can bet that San Jose and everybody else is gonna try to mimic, whatever they see on tape, and say, hey. I myself, my problem with Tuamasi is while he's shown a good propensity to time his runs going forward and coming back on defense, I still think his speed is less than ideal, and I've seen him get beat trying to get back. If he doesn't get the timing right, to me, I haven't seen that he's got the recovery speed to come back and help on defense. And you saw this against RSL where he had nothing. He had no tackles, no interceptions, no clearances. I mean, I don't think he had a single defensive action. And I mean, is that because he was asked to stay forward, which of course Lucci will do from time to time, but you would still think that he'd be able to do something. And I just think it's that it's the team's timing his runs and figuring out that, hey, sure, he can come forward, but if we get him to come too far forward, he's just not fast enough to get back and scramble back on defense, and we can overload that side. And I think you saw that a little. And like I said, I want to see Che back there. I'm sorry. I know people can whine about him not being a real right back, but he's a really good defensive player, regardless of what position you play him in. And we really did miss his. And the kid averages about 3 interceptions a match. We could have used those against RSL. So, yeah, that's my my take. And of course, like I said, the young guys, Cirillo, Cervenia struggled, and I think you'll see Quignon get back in there and start getting more, getting back to a starting spot as he played some. Hopefully, he's getting back to 100%.
Yeah, I can agree with that. I've been ready for Che to come back since he got healthy. Tomasi is just, a replacement level backup at right back. I think he had shown that before even we got to this last stretch of games where he's perhaps performed less than replacement level at the position. And, Justin Che had played lights out like the last 3 games before he got hurt. His learning curve, was fast. And we're not really seeing that with Tomasi. So I mean, it's an overdue shift in my opinion.
I agree. I mean, I think just the athleticism. I mean, this kid Che is getting interest. For a permanent transfer from Bayern Munich. They see something in him. Maybe he just wasn't quite there yet, fitness-wise, to go against Real Salt Lake, but I think the team missed him. They missed his athleticism, and It's tough. I don't know what the future is for Tomasi past this season. Yeah, uh, disappointing there. But I think too, Ryan Hollingshead has looked tired. He just hasn't looked as sharp as he normally can be. I don't know if he's just put in the extra effort during this time and he's just getting worn down. Um, we haven't seen. I don't know. Hedges has had the time to build up a good relationship with Tafari yet, and and it's just there's so many questions. And then again, the midfield, as you say, so Quinone I think would help. I think he would
I'm
help.
not completely down on Tuamasi. I mean, it is his first year playing at that position, and I think going forward, once Che is gone, and whether it be in the winter or maybe he stays another year, who knows? I think Tuamasi Munjoma will be your guys playing, competing at right back, and they're going to be serviceable right backs, but they're going to be your solid MLS type level players until guys like Colin Smith comes up and is given a shot to be the starter. Another freak athlete converted to right back, learning the ropes in North Texas, and eventually, once Che's gone, you can bet that they're going to want to bring in Colin Smith because that type of athlete speed combination at that position sells. So I think Tuamasi and Munjama are going to be your long-term running back answers, and I think Tuamasi has done okay here and there, but I think it's clear to see that teams are game planning around him, and FC Dallas is simply going to have to pick their matchups. I think he'll play some against some teams and sit against others.
Well, let's shift focus now. We've talked about FC Dallas. We'll come back to that in just a moment as we think about the coming game against San Jose, which we've already discussed a little bit. Let's dip over to the United States men's national team, and we could primarily focus on the draw, 1 goal versus 1 goal there against Canada. But of course, there was also the draw in El Salvador, which some fans were panicky about, but I think it's always tough to play away in CONCACAF games. It's just nutty. It's just a strange environment at times, and a strange situation. But to come back home in Nashville, playing in front of your own crowd, you go up 1-0, not looking particularly great, but you come up with a goal, and it's a nice goal. Brendan Aronson tapping it in on the cross, but then you give up the goal and then struggle to generate some more. And for us FC Dallas fans, Ricardo Pepi has made 0 minutes in either of these two matches. Is the sky falling for the United States men's national team? I just want to hear your opinions. Ben, I'll go with Jose first, then Ben, I want to hear from you, and I want you just to let us have it, okay? But Jose, go.
Well, I mean, I think people are right to be disappointed with the Canada loss. With draw, excuse me, which feels like a loss, by the way, because people were saying, hey, the El Salvador draw is okay as long as they win against Canada at home. You got to win the home games. They failed to do that, so that's what hurts. Is you've been pitching as a must-win. It's okay to draw on the road. It's not okay to draw at home. That's a win for Canada. Canada is celebrating going to Nashville and walking out of there with a point. There's no, they should be concerned, and the concern is this: is in the goal when the U.S. scored the goal. They did it through some fabulous team play. That was an excellent all-around team combo. The passing was beautiful. That's pretty much about the only time we saw it. And all this talent that the U.S. clearly has, it looks like individual talent right now as opposed to team. It doesn't look like a cohesive team. It looks like an all-star team. You got a good player over here, a good player over there, and they play well by themselves, but it didn't look like a cohesive unit. That's what you saw against El Salvador. El Salvador looked like a cohesive unit. They had their roles defined. You saw one American player get the ball, and he had at least a wave of 1, 2, 3. He had waves of El Salvador players coming at him at different times and different paces, and the U.S. couldn't match that because El Salvador was playing as an actual team. Same thing with Canada. I mean, it just, the U.S. looks like I said, like an all-star team. They look like a team that we're not seeing what we saw when they won the last 2 tournaments. Even then, despite what people were complaining, they were playing excellent defense. They weren't allowing any goals. They were getting you weren't seeing those breakdowns on defense. And of course, I've told you guys before, this is a great tournament for Reggie Cannon and Shaq. Shaq Moore. That everybody is either asking for one or the other and saying, "Wow, we could really use one of those guys right now." Because I know, all the Yedlin fans, they get upset with me when I say, "Hey, Yedlin's not a great defender. He's a great guy if you're going to be attacking going forward, but his history on defense is he's always gonna give up something at some point, whether it's a risky tackle or mistimed assignment. That's just his history, and he hasn't done anything to change that. Great athlete, great speed, good attacker, suspect defender. Always has, always will be. Yes, he's got a ton of experience and should do better. And I'm not trying to blame it on him, but you can't be surprised that came.
He got scorched.
I'm just saying it's just counting on one player also.
Yeah, I saw someone said I don't even need to ridicule. I don't need to make a joke about Yedlin because Davies' performance against him, the way Davies treated him did enough. It was more than enough. Oh,
yeah,
man.
But again, not to blame it all on Yedlin, you also have to remember that it was bad team defense because somebody had to leave that attacker unmarked once Davis, beat Yedlin around the corner and completely unmarked in front of goal. I mean, that's just what it's getting to. A lot of really good individual players, but as a team, we're seeing the team struggle to come together as a cohesive all-around unit.
All right, Ben.
Man, I am so pumped for Ream and Jackson Ewell to start down in San Pedro Sula. It's going to be great. I mean, nothing could go wrong, right? I think there's a lot of players that would have got brought in. Think of maybe 3 or 4 that were trying to sort out their club situation late in the transfer window. You got Reggie Cannon. He would come in handy. Matthew Hoppy, he would probably come in handy. Probably somebody else. Chris Richards. Yeah, I mean, he definitely would be a speedier option at that left center back spot, which, I guess Canada would have been handy, and I mean, probably would just be generally handy. So, I mean, it's probably the 5th, 6th, and 7th hardest fixtures this period. Maybe El Salvador's 8. I actually think El Salvador will probably be in the running for qualification until the very end. May even beat the United States out. But I mean, the sky isn't falling. Other than, I wonder if a better coach maybe keeps Weston McKennie from falling astray over the break. I wonder if a better coach wouldn't be calling in Jackson Ewell to replace McKennie and Reyna and Dest, because I mean, quite honestly, that just doesn't make any sense at all. I mean, absolutely 0 sense.
I mean, I think the fans are concerned because you're losing McKinney, and even if you agree that it's the right move, you're replacing him with a Yule who's, if I got this correct, he's more of a defensive-minded midfielder. When your attack is struggling to create, your answer is to replace McKinney with a guy who's gonna shore up your defense. I don't know. It's as a fan, you got a right to say, hey, like you said, we've got Hoppy out there. We have other options to bring in when your attack is struggling, to try to bring in creators, and that's not what you bring in. So does this mean that, okay, now we're going to be afraid to lose? We're going to try to draw every match and hopefully pull out a 1-goal win? I mean, I don't know. It's very concerning for U.S. fans.
I mean, the whole thing with Yule is he's kind of like Trapp in the sense that, in theory, he's what they would call a regista. Somebody who's good at passing from deep, but much like Trapp, he's not very good in defending. So, putting him back there for, a team bunkering might make sense until they counterattack and he's nowhere to be found, or gets blown by, or they decide to press him and he can't shake his press, or runs into, other people trying to help the back line break the press and just clogs up the middle. He's just not very good at the international level. And has several major deficiencies that could get you beat. And he showed that against Honduras in the Nations League, and he showed poorly in the Gold Cup. So it's really a head scratcher.
And also shouldn't he have brought more than one player up? I mean, we do have several guys injured also, so
yeah,
you only bring in one player.
Mark.
That's the other thing that's confusing.
It's a lot. I mean, and maybe you look at club schedules. Maybe some clubs wouldn't release guys. Maybe Jesus is exhausted and just needs the week to rest up. But
it's an international window. They have to release. Clubs are mandated to release players. So if
I imagine Jesus would be a welcome body in there, even if you just bring him off the bench. But all right.
Well, Greg sees him as a striker, as a false 9 striker. So,
Yeah, well, we're left with questions, and there's a lot of drama in this one. So let's say now for me, I think if the U.S. Draws Honduras, if they just eke out a draw, 3 points from the first 3 matches, not great at all. I don't know that they're going to make a change away from Berhalter right away. I think. Because I was, listening in last night on another soccer show, and it was a good question raised. Like, who do you go if you decide that Berhalter is just not working, and you've got to intervene in the World Cup qualifying cycle a little earlier than you did last time to try to save, who do you go to? Like, what Major League Soccer coach do you turn to? I mean, you're not going to go to Bruce Arena, and he wouldn't leave New England right now. Bob Bradley, maybe you pry him away from LAFC, but I'm not sure he's going to fix this. And LAFC haven't looked particularly great. I mean, Oscar Pereira, can you convince him to come? Is there an international coach? I thought it was a good question. What do you do if the U.S., especially if they lose against Honduras, what does U.S. soccer do about Berhalter?
Well, I mean, I tell you what they're going to do, regardless win, lose, or draw. Berhalter's going to stay. I mean, if they do at any point make a coaching change, it will be almost certainly too late by the time they do. I've been saying it from the beginning. He wouldn't have been considered for the job if not for the fact that his brother ran the Fed, and because he had deep connections to the U.S. Federation. He didn't have any qualifications that made him stand out, other than, a mediocre run as the Columbus Crew head coach. His other coaching position was getting fired in the Swedish second division. So, yeah, that's their guy. They're going to stick with that and not want to lose face early on it. you know. And to his credit, it seems like the players like him. Now that could be just because the reporting is lazier now. But
It's true.
you know, I mean, like, I don't know what to say. Like, don't count on a coaching change between now and November. You know.
Yeah, I have to agree with this simply because winning the Gold Cup, winning the Nations League has bottom that pass. I think he'll be given every opportunity to go out there and earn the qualification, and he would literally have to blow it completely. For him to get removed, it's very simple. They failed to qualify, and then they have an excuse to get rid of him. But having won, Gold Cup and Nation League, and mind you, one of those tournaments they were clearly they ran out an inferior team and still won it. That's bottom get out of jail free card right now, and let's face it, he hasn't lost since I don't know when. So even though we're all panicking because they're draws, he still hasn't blown a game.
Good point.
So that's going to go a long ways, give him a lot of leeway, and they're simply going to say, hey, the next three after Honduras game, when we go at it again in October, you really, everyone's going to be harping on his lineup that he brings in, because they're going to say, hey, look at how even if they get a point at Honduras, everyone's going to be saying, look at your lineup, fix it. Some of those guys better not be called back.
Well, if he can pull out a win at Honduras, obviously, a lot of the dissent will be quelled, and 5 points from 3 matches is, I think you
Acceptable.
Take it. Yeah, very acceptable. You take it. You're on track. I mean, it's a tough place to play. I mean, it's not impossible. My theory still is, you want to win, you start Pepi. I think Pepi is probably my preferred striker on the lineup. I like Pifok. Is that his name? I like some of the skills he brings in as his presence and stuff, but it just doesn't. The whole team. You're right. It's not clicking. So maybe there's a benefit. We don't want Pepi to get out there and struggle and lose confidence for a while. I don't know. But
I'm going to say something about Pepi and why they should start him and whatnot, but I'm sure Pepi isn't really blowing him away in practice or anything like that. There's some players where you're like, even people that don't follow Dallas and see Pepi for the first time, they're like, this guy doesn't stand out. His hold-up plays and all that great. He's not really fast. And then he just scores. And he scores. And the one player that comes to mind, and he's not a similar player, just that he's a player that you say he's not that impressive, and he just scores. He makes me think of Wondolowski. Wando, who I've never been impressed with a guy, but he's going to score. Now, Pepi's a young guy, so he can elevate past that. But right now, I think that's what people are saying. Maybe he's not blown away in training. Who cares? Start the kid. The kid is a killer on the pitch, and he finds a way to put the ball in the net. He makes the most of his opportunities, and that's all you want from your striker. Forget about, is he the highest leaper? Is he the fastest, best athlete? No, he's your best scorer. That guy just knows how to finish, and that's all you want from your striker. Not, they hit the post. No, put Pepi in there. Mm-hmm. And I think that's the problem. And like I said, give him 10 minutes. Get him in there. Give him a shot. I was hoping. I was disappointed when the late, everybody was. I'm sure, but it's like at that point, why not give the kid a shot?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, to go back to Greg Berhalter's deficiencies, which, believe me, there are plenty of them. Like, another one was that he was coming into this team that had like a new generation of players, a lot of young players. His track record with young players pretty much extended to Will Trapp, and that was it.
But also, I want to add that a lot of those players in El Salvador appeared like they were, they played like a team that was playing a CONCACAF match for the first time. A lot of those, oh, they're European. This and that. Honestly, they seemed a little shell shocked. In all honesty, and they better not play like that at Honduras. They're gonna get run out of the park.
Yeah.
So that's the one thing that I wanted to add is I was stunned by that. In all honesty, everybody's like, oh, Europe, much better players, much better stadiums. You gotta. CONCACAF is a whole different beast, and it's intimidating. It's intimidating. You've got hostile crowds, bad pitches, horrible weather. It is suffocating, and you have to learn to deal with it because the players that you're playing up against are right at home.
Well, let's leave United States men's talk. We'll certainly have more to talk about next week along those lines, and hopefully it's good news. But for the U.S. program's sake, but let's just go in. FC Dallas welcomes San Jose this weekend. We've already talked about how this is a must-win game. I think Pepi will be back. Barring him playing all 90 minutes, against Honduras or something, and just putting his body on the line. I think we're going to have Pepi back in the lineup, which will be a big boost. Maybe Shun as well. I'm not sure about his schedule, but these are the games which will test this team and how hungry they are to fight for a playoff spot. What do you guys think? It is I hate just to do predictions, but give me a sense of your gut feeling about this San Jose match.
I think FC Dallas will find a way to get the 3 points. I don't think it's going to be pretty, but I think they can pull it off. And like you said, it's a must-win, not just because it's a home match, but because there's 3 road matches following this home match. So, I mean, it truly is a must-win match in every sense of the words. So I think for me as a fan, I'll be watching for that intensity. When you play a rival, when you play a key match, you want to see the players fired up and scrapping and scratching for everything. And I think Dallas will bring it, and I think they'll get the 3.
Ben?
I mean, I have to withhold judgment until I see whether Jara starts or not. I mean, we're not.
That's it right there, right? If Jara starts,
yeah, they're not going to win. My evidence is he started 9 games this year, and they haven't won any of them. So that's pretty good bet, pretty solid bet. Take that to the bank.
All right. Well, if Pepi if Pepi starts, yeah. All right. I'm with you.
It doesn't have to be Pepi. It just has to be not Jara.
Well, I'm with you. I'm with you. I think it's time to go with the hot hands. And O'Brien even unless you just don't have an option like Paxton needs to sit or Shun needs to sit. I want to see our youngest and players at work again. I hope Quinone gets a start as well. I hope Brian Acosta picks up a knock. All right, anyway.
Ben's right there with you. I can tell you that.
I mean, like after the last 2 weeks, I'm not so sure.
Yeah, well, you're right. I mean,
just take him off set pieces for Christ's sake. He's no good at them.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. That's all I ask.
Hopefully, Jim and Mara gets healthy. We need some guys to get healthy, and we'll see and put together a complete performance and get this team back on track. There's still time. Well, in North Texas SC, we talked about it's not a great weekend for FC Dallas fans and North Texas fans. North Texas SC at home managed only a draw. Not a great result for them. Anything you want to add about that, Jose?
Yeah, I mean, well, they still have their 8-match unbeaten streak. That's the good news. They're still in the dog pile for that third spot, although they could have solidified themselves as the sole third place team with a win. And you know, it's just I think I think Tucson was they came in on a 3-match winning streak, and they have gotten a draw at North Texas before. But if you saw the match, it just seemed like a lapse. You know, they North Texas scored, and a minute later, Tucson scored, and that's just you get that a lot with young teams where they say, hey, you know, the first couple of minutes after you score are always the most dangerous, and you see it repeated time and time again, that's what happened at North Texas, and you know I still think they're a playoff team. And to me, it's just where they're going to land. You know, they had a really good chance to claim a stake for number 3, and now they're just back in the like I said, it's just a dog pile. There's like 6 or 7 teams that are all right there within the point of each other. So I'm just disappointed because usually when Dallas loses, like a good North Texas win will, you know, soften the blow, and I didn't get that this weekend.
Yeah. Well, all right. Well, let's let you enjoy the rest of your Labor Day long weekend. It's and hope for better results this week for the United States Men's National Team and for FC Dallas and North Texas. Thanks everybody for joining us. Remember, you can follow us wherever you find podcasts as well if you didn't get to catch us live, and we'll be back Monday night. If the internet works, I'll be back.
Hopefully
live.
in a more cheerful mood.
And hopefully more cheerful mood. That's right. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Ciao.